Hi, Peter Jones, author, property investor and ex-chartered surveyor. And it's amazing what you can learn when you just look around you. I was just walking through my local town the other day and I saw this. And I thought this is a great example of just training yourself to look for property defects and to think about the things that you might have to do if you're doing a refurb. In an old property like this, the pointing is often going to be weathered. It's been lashed by wind and rain for probably over 150 years. And it can go porous, although this seems okay, it's quite firm, there's no indication that it's flaking, so probably this particular patch is okay. Look, you can see here somebody's injected a damp-proof course, and the whole property probably hasn't been that well looked after. We can tell by the state of the front door that there's been wear and tear, and it could do with some TLC. So somebody's come in to do some repointing. And we can see here that the pointing is weaker. You can see it's far more weathered and it's potentially porous. Here's a hole that seems to have appeared in it. Water could be getting through there, rainwater running down, several holes in fact. And all in all, it looks like it needs redoing. So we can see that somebody's actually going to come in and try and do this. So what's happened? Well, they've done the right thing to start with. They've started raking it out. Need to rake it out to a good depth, say a centimetre. You can't just butter over it, that won't do any good. You need to get the old mortar out so that you can then get a good bed of mortar in between the bricks and make sure that it's nice and watertight. So that's all good. But this is what they've done, look at that. It's probably the wrong mix of mortar for this age of property, and it's just been done terribly. They just sort of like smeared it all in. They haven't thought about recessing it. They haven't thought about the thickness of the mortar bed. It just looks terrible. And I would be absolutely disappointed if a builder turned up and did this to my property. And you can see they've only done this one patch. I imagine whoever owns the property told the builders they don't want any more to do with them. Please stop. As far as I know, this property is in a conservation area, so I imagine that the conservation officer at the local authority is doing his or her nut. So a moral of this story is to make sure that when you get somebody in to do the work, make sure they know what they're doing and they're going to do the proper work. And the other moral of the story is, whenever you're out and about, you can learn so much just by looking at property. People often ask me, Peter, how do I get to know what's wrong with the property? How do I get to know what repairs are going to need to be done? How do I get to know how much they're going to cost? Well, the simple answer is you practice, but you can practice by looking at other people's properties. You don't even need to go inside to start doing this. This is all from the outside. I took this video and these pictures from the pavement. So you just never know. Just keep your eyes open and look around you and you will learn a lot. And a question which I'm often asked by particularly new and beginner investors, but also some more experienced investors as well, is, Peter, I really want to get into property, or I really want to do more property, but the thing which makes me very nervous is that when I'm going around a property, I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. In fact, I'm not even sure a lot of the time what I'm looking for. And yet, when you go and see a property on a viewing, for example, you don't want to have a survey at that stage. You probably only want to really have a survey when you're making an offer, or if you've found a property which you think is going to work and before you make the offer. But of course, then we get into the whole catch-22 chicken and egg thing about, well, how do I even know if the property is going to work if I don't know what I'm looking at? Now, I can't completely solve this problem because I think a lot of this is going to come down to experience. But I can share with you a lot of the experience that I've had in over 40 years in property, including 25 years as a sort of an active chartered surveyor working for other people doing surveys. And I've produced a special resource for you, which is this: 63 common defects in investment property and how to spot them. Now, as it says on the tin, this will take you through the main defects that I've seen in property over and over again. It'll show you what to look for, how to identify those defects, so you'll have a much better idea of what you need to do to the property. If you're going to do a refurbishment, whether you're going to improve it and repair it, you'll have a much better idea of what project you're actually taking on. And hopefully, if you know very little about building construction or the kind of defects that you're going to find in a property, then 63 common defects in investment property and how to spot them is literally going to help you to spot them. And by the way, when you order your copy, you'll also find included is the template which I use when I go around viewing properties, inspecting properties, which will hopefully give you a much better chance of not missing any defects that there may be. Now, I have to say that this will not make you into a chartered surveyor, and reading this will not be a substitute for employing a surveyor to do a survey when the time is right. But hopefully it will give you a much better idea of A, whether you want to take the property forward and get a survey, or B, whether the property isn't quite what you're looking for, and then you should just walk away. So please come to my website www.thepropertyteacher.co.uk, click on Learning with Peter, click on the link for 63 common defects in investment property and how to spot them, and when I see your order come in, I will send you your link so you can download your copy immediately. And until next time, here's to successful property investing.